2 European Cups, a history so rich it makes the Big Six blush. So why has this club spent 23 years in the shadows? Meet Nottingham Forest, the original giants of English football, and the underdogs rewriting the Premier League script. Once upon a time, Forest didn't just play against Europe's elite, they slayed them. Fast forward to 2024, a 4-point deduction, a relegation scrap, and a squad packed with cast-offs from Chelsea, United and Newcastle. But here's the twist. These rejects aren't here to survive. They're here to burn down the palace. Meet Nuno Espírito Santo, the man who turned Saudi oil money into titles. And now, he's turning Premier League leftovers into art. Chris Wood, Newcastle's forgotten striker, now Forest's top scorer. Callum Hudson-Odoi, Chelsea's flop, now terrorising fullbacks. And Morgan Gibbs-White, the £42 million gamble, outperforming every Big Six midfielder. This isn't luck, this is revenge. A squad of not good enoughs playing like they've got a vendetta. A manager with a Spurs-shaped chip on his shoulder, a system so ruthless even Pep's bald head would sprout hair.
Premier League confirming that they've been deducted 4 points, teeing up one of the most chaotic relegation battles in Premier League history.
But here's the kicker, Forest aren't just surviving, they're evolving. While the Big Six drown in FFP spreadsheets, Forest are doing surgery. Fast breaks sharper than Clough's wit, set pieces deadlier than a Sherwood Archer, and a defence that turned a minus 4-point start into Premier League safety. This is more than a comeback, it's a resurrection. The club that invented giant killing is back, and they're not here for participation trophies. They're here to remind the Big Six, history doesn't fade, it reloads. Let's start where greatness began. In 1979, Nottingham Forest didn't just win the European Cup, they owned it. Back-to-back titles, a manager in Brian Clough who talked like a poet and coached like a warlord. This was the club that invented giant killing and then became the giant. But legends, like trees, don't grow forever. By the 2000s, Forest were a ghost of their former selves, relegated to League One, financial chaos, owners swapping faster than a striker's transfer rumours. They became a cautionary tale. This is what happens when a giant falls asleep. Enter Evangelos Marinakis, a shipping magnate with a very expensive dream. We'll be back in Europe in 5 years, he vowed. Spoiler, it didn't go smoothly. Managers came and went like bad TikTok trends. Chris Houghton, sacked. Steve Cooper, hired, fired, rehired, and still fighting relegation. Oh, and let's not forget about the 21 new signings in the summer, a squad so mismatched even FIFA Ultimate Team would say, chill. But here's the plot twist, Forest survived. Barely. A last-day escape act against Arsenal. A squad held together by duct tape and Steve Cooper's motivational speeches. But when the Premier League slapped them with a points deduction for financial creativity, even Cooper's magic ran dry. Enter Nuno Espírito Santo, the man who turned Saudi sand into gold. And now, he's turning Forest's chaos into clarity. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Nuno Espírito Santo's last Premier League job lasted 17 games. Spurs sacked him faster than a Harry Kane penalty miss. But here's the twist. Failure in London forged a monster. After conquering Saudi Arabia with Al Ittihad, Nuno returned to England with a Spurs-shaped scar and a point to prove. Forest hired Nuno mid-relegation scrap with a minus 4-point deduction and a squad held together by duct tape. Critics laughed, fans panicked, but Nuno? He smiled because he'd seen this script before. At Wolves he turned championship rejects into Europe chasers. In Saudi, he turned petrodollars into trophies. At Forest, he turned survival into a statement. His secret? No secrets. Play to the underdog's strengths. Let Chris Wood bully defenders like it's 2016. Let Elanga's pace terrify fullbacks. Let Gibbs-White orchestrate chaos. And when the Big Six come knocking, hit them on the break. Simple, ruthless, effective. Just ask Liverpool, the only Premier League team to lose at Anfield this season. Let's cut through the noise. Nuno Espírito Santo hasn't just stabilised Nottingham Forest, he turned them into a tactical chameleon. A team that can outmuscle Burnley, outrun Arsenal and outthink Brighton, all in the same month. Here's how. Nuno's not a one-formation follower. His 4-2-3-1 is just a starting point. The system? Fluidity over dogma. Watch closely. Fullbacks become centre-backs to form a back three stretching the pitch. Wingers invert or overlap based on the opponent's weak spot. Chris Wood? A human wrecking ball. 32% of Forest goals come from direct balls to his chest, bypassing midfield traffic like a GPS hack. But here's the genius. When Wood drops deep, he's not just a target man, he's a decoy. Defenders follow him like lost puppies, leaving gaps for Elanga's jet-heeled runs. Case in point, that Brighton goal. Wood dragged Van Heck into midfield, Gibbs-White sprinted into the void and bang, 2-0, cold-blooded. Nuno's attacking mantra? Overload, isolate, obliterate. Chaos by design. Half-space hijinks. Hudson-Odoi pins the fullback. Dominguez underlaps into the gap. Suddenly it's 2v1. Cross or cut back? Defender's nightmare. Box splits. Forest average 4.8 players in the box per cross. Highest in the league. Chaos for defenders. Paradise for tap-in merchants like Wood. Counterattacks with a twist. No aimless hoofs. Diagonal balls to Elanga, 18.3 miles per hour sprints, shift play instantly, catching high lines napping. Notice the pattern. Nuno doesn't impose a style, he exploits weaknesses. Big six parking the bus, long balls to Wood, high press, quick switches to Elanga. It's not pretty, but 12 points off the big six isn't a fluke, it's a blueprint. Nuno's defensive secret? Let them think they're in control. It's called the mid-block illusion. Mid-block trap. Wingers press centre-backs, strikers cut passing lanes to midfield. Force opponents wide, where crosses are meat and drink for Murillo, 6 foot 2 inches, 68% aerial duels won. Squeeze the pitch. Every backward pass, Forest's backline pushes up 10 yards. No breathing room, no rhythm, just frustration. Counter-press carnage. Lose the ball, 4 players swarm like piranhas. Forest regain possession within 8 seconds, 42% of the time, third best in league. Jurgen Klopp inventing gegenpressing, Nuno weaponized it. The difference? Liverpool's press burns calories, Forest's press burns egos. But tactics mean nothing without fire. Hudson-Odoi, playing like Chelsea still owes him wages. Gibbs-White, a £42 million gamble, out-creating every Big Six midfielder and getting closer to Foden this season. And Nuno, the Spurs flop, who's now out-coaching Arteta and Ten Hag. This isn't a squad, it's a support group for footballers forgotten. Forest aren't disrupting the Premier League, they're exposing it. While City obsess over 115 charges and XG, Nuno's doing surgery, 70% possession. Who cares? 30%? Who notices? Because when you've got a plan this smart, this ruthless, this fun, history isn't just rewritten, it's reloaded. But here's the Premier League's dirty secret. For every underdog fairy tale, there's a vulture circling. You build a gem, you polish it, you fall in love. And then, poof, a Big Six club waves a check and your season, your identity, gets auctioned off. But Nottingham Forest? They're rewriting the script. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Here's the twist. Nuno's building a team no one wanted to steal. Not because they're average, but because they were invincible. Callum Hudson-Odoi? Chelsea thought he was damaged goods. Chris Woods? Newcastle wrote him off as too slow. Morgan Gibbs-White? Wolves called him a luxury. But in Nuno's system, they're untouchable. A collective so ruthless, so interchangeable, even Real Madrid wouldn't know who to poach. Think I'm joking? Ask Bayern Munich. They wanted Murillo, Forest's £15 million rock, until they realised, rip him out and another nobody slides in. Taiwo Awoniyi injured? No problem. Chris Wood steps up and outscores Darwin Núñez. This isn't a squad, it's a hydra. Cut off one head, 2 grow back, but cheaper angrier, hungrier. Forest's secret isn't money, it's identity. They don't fear the vultures, they mock them. When Brennan Johnson left for £47 million, they didn't buy a replacement, they bought 3 killers: Elanga's pace, Dominguez's grit, Origi's chaos. Total cost? Less than Johnson's right leg. Genius? No, guerrilla warfare. While PSG collects superstars like Pokemon, Forest collect grudges. Every player here has a point to prove. Every pass is a middle finger to their doubters. And Nuno? The man Spurs called a flop? He's out coaching Arteta, outsmarting Ten Hag, turning a -4 point deduction into a 4-star hotel for the Big Six. The vultures will circle, the Czechs will bloat, but for the first time in decades, Nottingham Forest aren't prey, they're the hunters, and the Premier League? It's terrified. While Europe's giants hoard stars like gold, Forest are mining diamonds from the dirt. Chris Wood, a striker written off as finished, now outscoring Haaland per minute. Murillo, a £15 million nobody who tackles like Van Dijk on espresso. Nuno Espírito Santo, the flop who turned Saudi oil into trophies. And now, he's turning history into destiny. This isn't a comeback, it's a reckoning, a sarcastic smile to financial doping, a love letter to every fan who's ever been told their club doesn't belong, because Forest aren't just surviving the Premier League, they're exposing it, showing the world that heart beats hashtags, that tactics trump trillionaires, that a club this old, this proud, can't be bought, only awakened. So, let the vultures circle, let the Czechs clear, let the Big Six smirk, because while they're counting cash, Forest are counting scalps. Anfield, the Emirates, Old Trafford, one fortress at a time. Now they're counting constellations, eyes fixed on Europe's horizon. The club that once conquered the continent isn't chasing nostalgia, they're carving a new path. With Nuno's pragmatism and a squad forged in defiance, Forest aren't begging for a seat at Europe's table, they're building their own. And when the next saviour gets sold, another hero rises, because this club isn't built on stars, it's built on souls. And souls don't have price tags. This is Nottingham Forest's defiant truth. Football souls cannot be commodified. While giants chase shiny toys, Forest thrive on the hunger of the unwanted and the cunning of the underestimated. Their revival isn't a fluke, it's a blueprint for survival, a blueprint for rebellion, and soon, a blueprint for Europe.